As we begin to start writing our film response papers and then ultimately our film analysis paper, it's really important that we understand how we're approaching writing about film in this class. There is a prerequisite, so the assumption is that students are writing at a college level and understand the basic fundamentals of composition. With that in mind, let's start to shape or figure out why we do so much writing in this class. What can writing about film do for us or do for you? This information is in a PowerPoint on Desire to Learn, and then it also can be found in the back of the custom textbook. So, writing about film can do the following things. It can help you understand your own response better. Why did you like or react negatively or positively to a film? It can help explain or introduce something about a movie, a filmmaker, or a group of movies. So, we watched Sunset Boulevard, which belonged to the group of movies known as film noir. It can help make comparisons or contrast between films. We can start to look at films made inside of the US and compare them to films made outside of the US, current films compared to older films. We start to understand that film is this really large reservoir that we can draw from. Make connection between a film and the other areas of culture that produce it. This is really important. In our day to day life, perhaps we're not aware that film and media in general is made within a culture and a society, and it really reflects or can shine a mirror on the morals or the lack thereof that a culture or a society possess. This is a quote from Corrigan. This comes from the back of the custom textbook. Perhaps more than any other arts and entertainment, the movies frequently elicit a strong and emotional intellectual reaction. So, why not sit down and put it on paper? Let's figure out why we respond so strongly to films. Analyzing our reactions to themes, characters, or images can be a way of not only understanding a movie better, but also of understanding better how we view the world and the cultures we live in. We live in a multicultural society, so films that come from a variety of vantage points can only help us. So, what we're doing builds on the objectivity that we have in the discussion board. Assume that your audience or reader is familiar with the film you are writing about. This means there's no need to give a full plot summary. What you're doing is writing a critical analysis. You're taking yourself out of the equation, so I shouldn't see I like or I didn't like anywhere in this critical analysis. You're simply looking at a question or a topic. That's the response questions that you get at the end of each lecture, and then you're going to formulate your response. Each response question is a mini critical analysis, and it really asks you to focus your response by providing evidence to support a claim. So I will use the example from Sunset Boulevard here, and we'll use one of the response questions to kind of decode this. It's not about whether you liked or disliked a film, as I just said. Response questions allow you to analyze a particular element in the film and write about it from an objective, third person point of view. Forget about terms like, dislike, good, and bad. These denote opinion. These are subjective. I don't want these to be found anywhere in a film response paper. We can use our journals and we can use the subjective forum on Desire to Learn to explore our likes and our dislikes. Note taking is an essential component in writing a critical analysis. You're lucky. This is an online class, so you're not sitting in a dark classroom. You can pause the movie and you can watch it more than once. Consider which question you wish to answer and then take notes. So we're going to tackle the question, in what ways might the character of Joe Gillis be considered an anti-hero? Now, if you noted, this question is left open-ended. You can critically support either one. So I want a definitive claim. You're either going to tell me why Joe Gillis is an anti hero and support it with evidence from the film, or you're going to tell me why Joe Gillis isn't an anti hero and support it with evidence from the film. I'm going to say that he is an anti hero, and I'm first going to consider the definition of the word anti hero. If I have to prove that Joe Gillis is an anti hero with evidence, I should clearly establish or let my reader know what an anti hero is. Okay, so here's some support. This is my note taking process, if you will. I'm supporting critically Joe is an anti hero because he's dishonest. He's also somebody who uses Norma. He's a liar and he's also kind of shady, right? He goes after his friend's fiance. So now I'm going to sit down and I'm going to start to construct my response paper. I'm not going to do a full plot summary. I'm just going to extract the direct evidence that supports my claim. As you begin to construct your response paper, it's important to use proper format. Always, and I mean always, type the question you're answering at the top of the page in its entirety. Don't change it, don't make up your own, and then begin your response in a new paragraph. Response questions can be found in the back of the syllabus, and they're also at the very end of the PowerPoint and the video lectures. Each film has one or two questions pertaining to an element discussed in the lecture that directly relate to the film that we watch. Remember, you're only answering one question and one question only, not both questions. It's vitally important that you have a topic or a thesis sentence. So please do not begin your response the following way. Do not begin with a vague sentence like, Joe Gillis is an anti hero for many reasons. This tells me absolutely nothing directly. It's a pet peeve of mine, I must admit, because students tend to do this over and over again. It's almost like a crutch that they use. In these short half-page minimum responses, we don't have the time to get around to it. Your introduction should be strong and set up your response directly. Here's an example. In what ways might the character of Joe Gillis be an anti-hero? That's my response question I'm answering, and then my response follows in a new paragraph. Unlike the prototypical hero or good guy, Joe Gillis embodies the quintessential characteristics of an anti-hero. So right from the very beginning, I have that really direct thesis sentence or topic sentence that helps to set up my response. My reader knows exactly where I'm going right from the very beginning. Then I can start to explain what an anti-hero is, and then my criteria in order that I will support in the same order in the body of my paper. Even if you've never taken another film class, the fundamentals of writing critically are the same across all disciplines. The thesis sentence is there to help to make a clear and specific statement, to indicate the direction of your thoughts, to provide structure. This is vitally important. And then to be supported by the body of your paper. As far as sourcing goes, we're writing an MLA format in these half-page minimum response papers. I'm not expecting you to write a works cited page, but I do expect you to write in MLA format. So if you're using word for word or even paraphrasing something from me, put it in parentheses, my last name in parentheses at the end of the sentence. This also goes or applies to Giannetti and Corrigan if you're using the book as a reference. Everything that you upload on Desire to Learn goes through a plagiarism filter, so please get in the habit of sourcing everything that is not your original idea. Just a few tips about proper format when it comes to writing a critical response. When you write about the action in the film, it should always be in the present tense. Avoid using pronouns as subjects. This is an objective third person response. So please don't include things along the lines of, you can tell that the protagonist is an anti hero. We can see this by Joe's behavior. You're not talking directly to anyone or for anyone. Again, it's vitally important that you type the entire question as it's written. Do not change it at the top of the page. Film titles, when we're referring to film titles like The Graduate here, need to be put in italics. This is just MLA format. Save your Word document as a .doc or a .docx if you're working with Microsoft Word, or a PDF if you're working with another program. And finally, just some tips. A lot of this is a repeat. I tend to repeat myself a lot because it seems to help. The response papers are practice for your film analysis paper that's worth 30% of your grade. If you get the fundamentals down with the response papers, then you'll be an expert at writing critically about film in no time.